So for those of you thinking of taking matters into your own hands, think twice because you need a license or a permit to hunt wild hog. It is also illegal to poison them.
November 24th, 2019, Anahuac, Texas. An 84-year-old man steps onto his front porch in the gray hour before dawn. His wife's caretaker, Christine Rollins, was supposed to arrive an hour ago. Her car sits in the driveway. Something lies on the ground between the car and the door. What Chambers County Sheriff Brian Hawthorne would see when he stood in that same yard a few minutes later would change him. 35 years on the job had prepared Hawthorne for almost everything, but not for this. When the medical examiner arrived, when Dr. Selly Rivers signed the report, the cause of death was listed as exsanguination due to feral hog assault. Christine Rollins was 59 years old, and she had bled to death in a front yard in southeast Texas, killed by multiple wild pigs. The bite patterns came from animals of varying sizes, a family group, what biologists call a sounder, that had come out of the brush before sunrise. Sheriff Hawthorne stepped to a microphone the next day. He did not want to describe what he had seen. His statement was brief. "I don't want to go into detail, but in my 35 years, I will tell you it's one of the worst things I've ever seen. A caretaker, a driveway, a front door she never reached." Christine Rollins did not die in some remote wilderness. Her body was found 50 miles east of Houston in a residential yard, killed by an animal that is not supposed to be here at all. 6 million of them roam the country now, spread across at least 35 states. The United States government has spent more than $100 million trying to stop them, and is losing. To understand how we got here, you have to go back to 1539. A Spanish conquistador named Hernando de Soto landed near what is now Tampa Bay, Florida, with 13 pigs. He used them the way other expeditions used cattle, turning them loose to forage and recapturing them for slaughter. Over 3 years, his army marched through what would become 14 American states. By the time De Soto died in 1542, his 13 pigs had multiplied to roughly 700. And that estimate, according to historical accounts, is conservative. Some escaped. Others were left behind. The pigs of Hernando de Soto are the founding population of nearly every feral hog in the American South. For 400 years, they spread quietly. American colonists practiced free-range husbandry, and pigs that escaped the farm went wild within a single season, growing thick, bristly hides, longer legs, tusks that sharpened themselves with every chew. Then, in April of 1912, something happened that turned a slow problem into a national one. A train pulled into Murphy, North Carolina, carrying cargo from Berlin, Germany. Inside the crates were Eurasian wild boar, said to come from the Ural Mountains of Russia. They had been purchased by an American attorney named George Gordon Moore to stock a hunting preserve on a mountain called Hooper Bald. Moore built a 600-acre pen with chestnut fences 9 rails high and placed roughly 14 wild boar inside, along with buffalo, elk, brown bears from Russia, and 10,000 pheasant eggs. The fence held for less than a decade. During a hunt with dogs in the early 1920s, the boar tore through the chestnut rails and disappeared into the Smoky Mountains. They began breeding with the feral domestic pigs already roaming the hills. A few years later, Moore moved to California. He brought 9 sows and 3 boars from Hooper Bald with him to a ranch in Monterey County. William Randolph Hearst, who owned the neighboring San Simeon, would later tell him, "Your pigs have reached San Simeon." Today, every wild pig in California can trace its lineage back to those 12 animals. By 1990, the United States had perhaps 2 million feral hogs across 20 states. What came next is what Dr. Jack Mayer, a research scientist at the Savannah River National Laboratory, calls the pig bomb. Hunters began illegally trapping live pigs and trailering them across state lines, and reality television in the early 2000s made Hog hunting glamorous. Michael Mengak, a wildlife professor at the University of Georgia, has put it bluntly. When hogs appear in a new county, they were probably transported there by people in the back of a pickup truck or a trailer. By 2016, peer-reviewed estimates put the U.S. population at roughly 6.9 million animals across 36 states. To understand why this is so hard to stop, you have to understand what a feral pig actually is. A female pig, a sow, can become pregnant at 6 to 8 months of age. Gestation lasts 115 days, the average litter is 5 piglets, and a healthy sow can produce 2 litters per year. She can be bred again within a week of weaning. Dr. Billy Higginbotham, a Regents Fellow at Texas A&M, calls feral hogs the most prolific large mammal on the face of the earth. His estimate of population growth in Texas alone runs between 18 and 21% every year. What that means is this: to simply hold the population steady, not reduce it, just keep it from growing, you have to remove between 60 and 70% of the animals on the landscape every year, for as long as you intend to keep them down. Recreational hunters, even in states that allow unlimited take, kill only about a quarter of that. And feral pigs learn. Dr. Stephen Ditchkoff, a wildlife professor at Auburn University, calls them the smartest critters on the landscape. After a few hunts, sounders shift to nocturnal feeding. They avoid traps that have caught their relatives. They remember. Mayer puts it this way: I wonder if we haven't just created a population of runners that we can't kill. In April of 2014, the United States Department of Agriculture decided to try. Undersecretary Edward Avalos announced a $20 million congressional appropriation for a new initiative, the National Feral Swine Damage Management Program. Avalos called the animals one of the most destructive invaders a state can have. The numbers behind that statement are staggering. Feral hogs cause an estimated $2.5 billion in damage every year to crops, livestock, and property, according to ongoing USDA research. In Texas alone, the figure is roughly $500 million annually. In Georgia, more than $150 million. A sounder of 10 hogs, the Missouri Department of Conservation reports, can destroy 10 to 20 acres of farmland overnight. The damage is not only economic. A 2024 study published in the European Journal of Wildlife Research, led by Dr. Mayer, examined State Farm insurance data. American drivers in 2022 alone hit wild pigs in 16,714 separate vehicle collisions, costing more than $103 million in repairs. In 1988, 2 feral hogs ran across the runway at Jacksonville International Airport in Florida. An F-16 fighter jet hit them on takeoff. The aircraft was destroyed. $16 million, gone in seconds. On the barrier islands of Georgia, biologists tracking loggerhead sea turtle nests across a 10-year study found that feral hogs cause the greatest predation of turtle eggs. Streams in Alabama with hog presence carry 40 times the bacterial load of streams without them. In the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, rangers have removed more than 13,000 hogs since 1959, and an estimated 1,500 still live inside the park. Dr. Ditchkoff has watched a feral pig eat a live deer fawn. Then there are the diseases. Feral swine carry, by the USDA's count, at least 30 viral and bacterial diseases and nearly 40 parasites: brucellosis, leptospirosis, pseudorabies, trichinolosis, hepatitis, tuberculosis. In one Georgia county, researchers tested feral pigs and found nearly 47% positive for swine brucellosis, a bacterial infection that, in humans, can cause years of recurring fever. 10 hog-hunting dogs in Arkansas died of pseudorabies during a single outbreak in 2010. Behind every statistic sits a fear biologists do not say out loud often: African swine fever. If it ever crosses into the United States, 6 million wild pigs become the perfect bridge into the commercial pork industry. The economic loss could be measured in tens of billions, which is why, in 2017, the state of Texas tried to poison them. On February 21st of that year, Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller signed an emergency rule authorizing a product called Kaput Feral Hog Bait, a warfarin-based poison developed by a Colorado company called Symmetrix. Miller stood at a press conference and called it the hog apocalypse. The backlash came fast. Hunters sued. The Texas Hog Hunters Association gathered 15,000 signatures. A judge in Travis County issued a restraining order. The Texas House voted 127 to 12 to require additional study. Critics pointed out that warfarin can take between 1 and 31 days to kill a pig, that scavengers, coyotes, vultures, raccoons would feed on the carcasses, and that Australia had phased out warfarin as inhumane. Symmetrix quietly withdrew the product from Texas to avoid the legal costs. Federal scientists tried a different poison, sodium nitrite, the same chemical used to cure bacon, under an EPA experimental permit. The chemistry worked. The bait did not. It crumbled in the field, scattering toxic fragments that could be eaten by migratory songbirds. In 2021, the EPA declined to approve it. That left Texas with the air. In Bryan, Texas, a company called Helibacon flies a Bell 212 helicopter over more than 300,000 acres of private ranch land. Customers harness themselves into the open door, hand a gunner an AR-15, and shoot wild pigs from above at sunrise. 2-hour flights start at around $4,000. Texas legalized commercial paid aerial hog hunts in 2011, and more than 100 companies now hold permits. Adam Henry, an assistant director at Texas Wildlife Services, told NBC in 2024, "Our statewide total is somewhere around 2.6 million hogs. We're just running from one wildlife to the next, literally in a hog world." Mike Bodenchuk, the USDA's Texas state director, was more direct. In an email cited by the Associated Press in December of 2022, he wrote, "Even using this approach, we won't have the resources to eradicate pigs in Texas in my lifetime." On August 4th of 2019, 3 months before Christine Rollins died, a man in Arkansas named Willie McNabb posted a message on Twitter at 11:01 in the morning. He was responding to a debate about gun control after 2 mass shootings the previous weekend. His words read, "Legit question for rural Americans. How do I kill the 30 to 50 feral hogs that run into my yard within 3 to 5 minutes while my small kids play?" The internet mocked him. The phrase 30 to 50 feral hogs became a meme overnight, and 2 million Twitter timelines saw it within 24 hours. What the mockery missed, Dr. Mayer told Slate magazine days later, was that McNabb was correct. A sounder of 30 to 50 feral pigs is, in parts of the rural South, an entirely realistic encounter. McNabb was not exaggerating. He was describing his life. By 2023, the United States Department of Agriculture had spent more than $100 million on the National Feral Swine Damage Management Program. There were victories. 12 states, including Indiana, declared, "Free of feral swine in 2023 have eradicated breeding populations." Vermont, New York, Iowa, Minnesota. The northern tier, the cold tier, has held. The deep south has not. Texas alone, by the state's own estimate, hosts roughly 3 million animals, a number that, according to USDA officials, has remained fairly stable since 2011. Stable, despite a $100 million federal program. Stable, despite helicopters and traps and rewards. And now, the threat is moving north. In Saskatchewan, Canada, Dr. Ryan Brook of the University of Saskatchewan has spent more than a decade tracking what biologists call the super pig. The Canadian government, in the 1980s, encouraged farmers to raise Eurasian wild boar for meat. The market collapsed in 2001. Some farmers cut the fences and walked away. What survived the Canadian winter was something new, a hybrid that combined the cold hardiness of pure Eurasian wild boar with the rapid breeding of domestic pigs. Brook calls them the most invasive animal on the planet. In 2023, his research team tracked sounders in Manitoba, within 18 miles of the Minnesota border. A peer-reviewed paper published that May in the journal Biological Invasions predicted expansion into North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and Minnesota, states that have, until now, been spared. Nobody should be surprised, Brook told Canadian broadcasters, when pigs start walking across that border, if they haven't already. The question is, what will be done about it? Christine Rollins was the most recent confirmed feral hog fatality in the United States. Dr. Mayer's worldwide study, published in 2023, counted 172 human deaths from wild pig attacks between 2000 and 2019 across 29 countries. 5 of those deaths happened in the United States. It is still an extraordinarily rare way to die. The animal that killed her, the long-legged, intelligent, omnivorous hybrid, descended from a Spanish expedition 5 centuries ago and a German rail car in 1912, and 1,000 quiet escapes since. That animal's no longer rare at all. It is in 35 states. It is in the cornfields and the cotton fields and the suburbs of Texas. It is moving toward Minnesota. It carries 30 diseases and 40 parasites, and the memory of every trap it has ever escaped. Dr. Higginbotham, the Texas A&M scientist who has watched this for 40 years, has a phrase for it. He says there are 2 kinds of places in Texas, those with feral hogs and those that are about to have feral hogs. The United States government has spent more than $100 million and nearly a dozen years trying to stop them, and has not figured out how. Tonight, somewhere in the deep south, a sow is nursing 5 new piglets. By next year, those 5 will be 20. The math does not care about budgets, or fences, or political will. The pigs Hernando de Soto lost are not lost anymore. They are home.